All right. Hi, everybody. Alyssa Gutner-Davis with Cleantech San Diego. Many of you guys know Cleantech San Diego, but I'd like to just give a brief overview really quickly for those of you that don't. We were created 11 years ago. We are an industry association that was designed to accelerate the innovation of clean technologies, a lot of times focused on clean energy technologies, as well as the adoption of sustainable business practices for the betterment of the economy and the environment. We do that by working with public agencies, private organizations, as well as academic organizations to help them collaborate and do business with each other. We do educational events, and we also do advocacy in Sacramento and locally around positioning the clean tech industry as an economic driver here in our region. We've also were awarded a grant in 2016 to set up an incubator program for clean energy technologies, specifically electric energy technologies, by the California Energy Commission. That is a program that I run with Marty Turok. Many of you have met him. We work with electric energy entrepreneurs in this region to support them with a variety of services, working with 8 partner organizations who are listed here: Center for Sustainable Energy, Connect, UC San Diego, University of San Diego State, the Inland Empire Economic Partnership, Imperial Valley Economic Development Corporation, and San Diego Venture Group. And with those organizations, we provide a consortium of services that are listed here, including connections to industry. Many of our members are industry that are interested in piloting emerging energy technologies. We do connect every entrepreneur that comes through the program with a mentor and provide them with access to testing facilities, commercialization support, pitch deck development, all sorts of things that are customized depending on the needs of the company. And so far we've had great success. We've supported 25 startups that have created 144 jobs in this region. They have raised $15.8 million in private capital since acceptance into the program, as well as $1.2 million in public capital. So, it really works with boots on the ground, kind of bringing all the partners together to support companies. And so if you guys have any questions about that program, you can approach me afterwards. I'm happy to offer support. It's free. It just has to be an electric energy technology that's located within this 4-county region listed here: San Diego, Imperial, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties. So that's a little bit about us and the SD-RAIN program. Now I'd like to turn it over to Ammar, who's a contractor for the Department of Energy and their Solar Energy Technologies Office, to explain what's going on with the American-Made Solar Prize. So give me a sec while I transition the mic.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So I think I tend to move, so if I start tripping the mic, just...
Would you like me to do the video first?
Oh yeah, well, first of all, thank you for coming and thank you for hosting.
Of course.
I know it's early and there's lots of coffee. So I want to talk today a little bit about the American-Made Solar Prize. It's a prize competition we launched a few months ago in July. And before I get explain all the details, we made a short video for about 2 minutes, because oftentimes people say, your programs are complicated. Can you distill it in 2 minutes? So we took the challenge to say, yeah, we can do it in 2 minutes. Hopefully, you'll get the gist of it and I can go to the details. So let's play the video.
The U.S. solar industry has taken off. There's now enough solar installed to power more than 10 million homes. This $16 billion industry has created hundreds of thousands of jobs, but most of this technology is made outside our borders. What would happen if we doubled, tripled, or even quadrupled how much solar is made here at home? This rapidly growing industry is ripe with opportunities to innovate and lead globally. Entrepreneurs with fresh ideas have the potential to radically disrupt the industry with solutions that will shape the future. But getting from start to finish requires access to resources, capital, and the know-how to get innovations to market. Without support, great ideas stall, time and resources are quickly depleted, and opportunities to drive progress and innovation are lost. A new $3 million prize competition from the Department of Energy will help entrepreneurial individuals and teams transform great ideas into technology solutions ready for industry testing. Through a series of contests, the competition speeds the time it takes to develop viable solutions capable of boosting manufacturing competitiveness in the United States. Competitors won't be alone. Each step of the way, they'll receive support from national laboratories, energy incubators, and industry partners. These groups will connect entrepreneurs to the network of resources needed to succeed. By supporting innovators throughout the competition, these connectors will help to grow their network, develop business plans, build prototypes, and even secure other funding sources. Each contest brings the best ideas another step closer to market-ready products. Game-changing cash prizes and additional support will be awarded to entrepreneurs showing the most progress. Hard work is part of the American fabric, but so is innovation and collaboration. The American-made Solar Prize competition encourages us to work smarter and better together to achieve our goals. More affordable solar technology made in the USA. Join us.
All right. So if you notice in the video, lots of gears, but solar doesn't have any gears, right? Which is one of the, but anyway, so this is more artistic critique for our colleagues who made this video. I mean, which is really, you know, mind-boggling if you think about it. It's the only sort of source of generating electricity that has no gears in it, that doesn't use turbines, right? It's, you know, it's kind of unique if you think about it. So if you believe that one day the grid is going to be digital, right? Some people think, oh, you know what, we're going to be like, telecommunications was sort of analog and now it's digital, right? So maybe solar is going to lead sort of the way to make the electricity market sort of digital, but that's sort of the idea. First of all, thank you again for being here. I have about an hour to go through this program. I have about 29 slides, but please interrupt me anytime you want to sort of ask questions. Sort of don't hesitate to ask questions. And people online, thank you for joining us from, you know, around the country and hopefully internationally as well. If you have questions, Shannon's sort of gonna maybe read the questions for me, and I will try to repeat it. So there's a disclaimer. Whatever I say here is really to use it as an additional information or explanation to a document we call sort of the rules book for this prize competition that the lawyers sort of crafted. So there's a lot of sort of details. So if I say something, just take it within sort of that context, that there is a document that I encourage all of you to read to sort of know the details. So, but that's sort of a disclaimer that the lawyers ask me always to sort of to make. So I already thank you for the introduction. There are two people that I want to mention that sort of work, that lead the program. So I've been with the Solar Technology Office at the U.S. Department of Energy for about 5 years. I've done a lot of the prize competitions that we do in the office, about 4 of them. So, you know, I'm sort of the prize specialist. If you watch the Hunger Games, there's sort of the game maker. So it's not as bad, right? It's really all about innovation. There's no Hunger Games involved here. But the two people that I want to mention, Victor Kane from the U.S. Department of Energy and Debbie Broad-Giles from National Renewable Energy Lab. So we partner with NREL as a national lab to sort of work on this prize competition because of all the different assets that this prize competition sort of offers in terms of technical support and whatnot, especially access to the national lab. So NREL is sort of leading the way in terms of facilitating that access to the entrepreneurs as well as sort of the winners of the prize competition. So I'm going to go quickly over sort of an overview, prize details, how to compete in the READY contest, which is the first. It's the gateway to the remaining contests. As you've sort of seen or heard in the video, there's the 3 set of contests that eventually leads to the winner who wins all of these. There's potentially $750,000 in cash prizes, and sort of no strings attached, no reporting to Dan or any of that stuff. So it's really simple and easy. So it's important sort of you compete in that contest and sort of participate in it, and hopefully you will be one of the winners. And then we'll talk a little bit about the American-made network, and Cleantech San Diego is a prime example of a member of that network that could help entrepreneurs sort of take it from 0 to 100 if you want. And then we'll sort of, questions, but feel free to ask me questions anytime. As in the video sort of mentioned, the PV module prices have plummeted over the years. For the past 40 years, imagine it was $74 a watt. So you can pick whatever metric you wanna use to whatever poison you like in terms of measuring the progress or the learning curve over time. But if you think about it, in the 70s, it was about $74 per watt for the sort of the price of the module. Today, they got to 50 cents per watt. And there's actually talk of 30 cents per watt. So this sort of idea is like, this is going to be almost free if you think about it, right? So this is tremendous progress over the years. Yet in the solar technology office in 2010, we set a sunshot target, which is say, okay, we're going to get to $1 per watt by 2020, and which sort of translate into sort of 6 cents per kilowatt hour, sort of equivalent in a model city. We normally think of Kansas City as our sort of normal, sort of average city, and we model everything around Kansas City. Ask the researchers at the National Lab why, but that's sort of the way they think about it. And this is without using any subsidies. We have achieved that $1 per watt last year, I think, is about 2 years ahead of the target of 2020. But then we sort of doubled down on the targets for 2030. So, okay, can we get to 3 cents? And that's per kilowatt hour, which is in a way almost like a wholesale sort of electricity prices, if you think about it, right? And we do recognize the value and the trend in terms of the solar storage technology, batteries and whatnot, in terms of the cost reduction. So if you think about combining, solar at 3 cents kilowatt hour with, the declining prices of storage, then we can truly think in terms of a transformational shift in how we think about our grid today. And you can think about this sort of more of a digital grid versus sort of, analog grid that has, turbines running and have this inertia. So that's something to think about. So there's our target really for 2030 is to, have sort of cut the price by half and double sort of the deployments. But with that really comes a lot of obstacles. There's a lot of innovation has to change, and we think in order to get to these targets, there has to be some sort of a radical innovation in the U.S. and have an opportunity to sort of leapfrog some of the competition and not even sort of compete on today's technology, but let's compete on 3.0. If you think of solar, okay, has 1.0, we did 2.0, let's think about 3.0 and let's be leaders in 3.0 and have it sort of be a US sort of driven sort of industry. We invented, 1.0 was invented in the US. If you remember, Jimmy Carter had these solar panels in the White House. They're probably the $70 per watt, were super expensive. Obviously, we use solar in the space program as well. But imagine that we can reinvent that sort of that industry again and think in terms of 3.0. So really the idea behind this program is to get entrepreneurs to think about 3.0 or 4.0 when it comes to solar. And don't think of solar just purely as the hardware technology, but think of it as a sort of a platform that can plug in other type of technology. You think in terms of solar and storage, you can think of solar and other sort of, solar and, transportation, solar and water, right? So don't think of it as just one solar and energy efficiency, building technology in general. So don't think of it as just this one point solution. Think of it as a sort of a platform, as well as think of it in terms of the value chain. So an industry doesn't exist because you just make one product, right? It exists because there's a thriving and powerful sort of robust value chain, and that comes in hardware, software, all kinds of suppliers. So think of it in that context. So this is a price competition, and oftentimes whenever it's a representative of the government talking about some money aspect of things, then people think in terms of grants. And we do our office in the Solar Technology Office. Obviously, we are focused on research and innovation. We fund a lot of research and innovation. Congress appropriates funds, and we have a sort of budget line items, and a lot of it goes to grants. Only a small percentage we do that goes to prizes. But we've been thinking about, so we have red tape, as you know, because if you go follow the grant process, it takes from the day we say, okay, here's the prize opportunity, here's the grant opportunity, it takes about 9 months for you to go through that process, right? And maybe you will get into a letter to say, oh, congratulations, you've been invited to negotiate the terms of this award, right? So you have no idea, it's, you have to submit budgets, all kinds of paperwork. So we completely sort of say, okay, what about we just don't do all of that stuff and just say, okay, here's what we want you to achieve. If you achieve it, we will give you a prize, right? No questions asked. You meet their certain guidelines. There's no reporting. You submit. We evaluate through a typical process. And if you're among the winners, you get that prize money. You can do whatever you want with it. You can take it and innovate more. You can take it and go to Hawaii for a couple of months. We really have no control of what you will do with that money. but it's really fast. So some of the price competitions we've ran in the past, from sort of, if you think in timeline, from the day you submit, from the day we announce a grant opportunity to the day we tell you you have an opportunity to negotiate the terms, takes 9 months. We ran price competitions from the day we say, okay, here's a price competition, to the day in which we actually have 3 contests and winners and went through a lot of stages, to the day in which they received a full $100,000 in prizes. The whole process took 9 months. So if you think about it, we try to simplify this process significantly and lower the barrier for participation. We noticed that a lot of people, entrepreneurs specifically, do not want to go through this sort of lengthy process of submitting applications, getting feedback after 9 months. Well, maybe I completely shifted my mind in terms of where I want to focus my solution. But they really like this price competition sort of concept because they can get feedback relatively quickly, and they can the mantra fail fast, fail forward, fail often kind of concept allows you to with a price competition construct, allows you to move faster. If you think about technology transformation or technology transfer, it's a low yield process. There's a lot of risks, sometimes in the technology, sometimes in the team that is implementing it, the talents that needed, and the resources. So it's really a low yield process. So if you want to increase the output, you probably need more inputs in the process, right? And shorter time for innovators to learn and adapt. So that's really the spirit behind the program. Prizes are not something new that we have invented. Historically, they existed a long time ago. There's the historical ones. If anyone familiar with Napoleon's food preservation price competition, is roughly the equivalent of about $40,000 US in today's dollars. And the problem that Napoleon had was, okay, he wants to feed his army, so he needed a method. He could not buy. They're burning the villages in Europe, so they could not buy food from the villages that they were occupying or invading. So they wanted to take their own food with them, the supply chain with them, to feed the army. So he had this price competition, and that led, in a way, to the canning industry. So every time you drink a can of Coke or have a Campbell soup, just remember of Napoleon. Remember Napoleon. He was sort of a thought leader in that way with this price competition kind of construct. And everyone's familiar with the Grand Challenge DARPA's 2002, sort of the autonomous car, right? The challenge was to go through, do 150 miles in the Mojave Desert in 2002, and the team that did the most mileage was the red team in Carnegie Mellon University, and they did about 7 miles, and then the car stopped in 2002. There was $1 million prize competition. No one won that prize competition. But 15 years later, in 2017, Google's Waymo did about 3 million miles on public roads. So it took a little bit of time, 10 years, in terms of taking this sort of $1 million prize competition, but people really liked it and they stuck with it. But this kind of prize competition is a point solution prize competition. We tell you, here's a problem, can you find a solution? Our prize competition is a little bit different because we're not pretending that we know what the solution is, right? We're asking you to come up with a solution. So we're not saying, okay, you have to have this particular point solution. So it's pretty open to what people can sort of propose, but really the driving force behind it, the focus is around this sort of statement. We want to re-energize American, creativity in terms of innovating in solar and specifically manufacturing. Can we bring, Industry 4.0 or manufacturing 4.0 when it comes to energy manufacturing? Think about it from that perspective, right? So, and we want to be able to empower entrepreneurs. A lot of the entrepreneurs, if you go to the Bay Area, they're really focused on kind of interesting problems, but getting your sushi through your app in 20 minutes is not the most compelling problem that we're facing, right? But a lot of people are sort of thinking about that problem. A lot of talents are pursuing that kind of sort of approach. So we're trying to hopefully get a little bit more talented people to say, okay, this is really an important space. I have expertise, I have knowledge. Let me put my talent on a problem that's worth solving. It's not that, getting your sushi in 20 minutes is not worth solving, but I think there's enough people sort of pursuing it. But there's not enough people really pursuing these difficult challenges when it comes to energy. And we created this prize competition around sort of this concept of a network. We realized over the years that we, even when we put a grant or say, here's a price competition, without having an infrastructure that is locally available for entrepreneurs, like the Cleantech in San Diego and other places in the country, these entrepreneurs, it's hard for them to thrive, right? So they always need that environment, the support environment. So we are saying in this price competition as a program, there's this network, we're asking all these organizations to be part of it, be part of this sort of local power, energy that help entrepreneurs thrive. So that's really a balanced approach. We're providing the prize competition sort of construct and steps. At the same time, we're asking organizations to be part of this network in order to help entrepreneurs thrive, because we recognize you cannot really succeed on your own and you need that network. So that's really the mission. But what's the problem that we're trying to solve is really that you come up with any solution that fits sort of this mission, then you're on your way to competing in this prize competition. All right, so I gave a lot of sort of construct. Anyone has questions? No one has questions. Perfect. All right, so this is okay. So it's a prize competition. It's a $3 million prize competition. Consists, if you heard in the video, there's all a series of contests. The 3 contests. We try to simplify them. So ready, set, go, and they go in sequence. And really, there's more levels of difficulty as you progress from one to the other in order to win it. But they all run in very short periods of time. Each one of these contests runs for about 90 days. So it's pretty fast, right? Because we want that feedback cycle, right? Whether you're gonna you want to pivot, fix your solution, find more mentors, etc. Fail fast, fail forward, right? And fail often. So we want to come up with a construct that allows that sort of vision to be implemented. And in addition to that $3 million prize competition, we talk about this sort of national network of support organization and the importance of that network. But there's 3 ways for you to participate. We recognize it's not just that you have to be an entrepreneur or you have to be an organization that supports entrepreneurs, right? There is additional way to participate, and that is really compelling. If you remember, we said we don't know what the problems that we're solving. We have an idea, but we're going to give you the opportunity to express these problems. So this is the first one, which is ideate, right? So what we're asking for ideation is, if you are in the industry or you're familiar with problems that we're solving, just put that problem statement online. We have created sort of a marketplace of problems, not really solutions. Sometimes we call them, marketplace of ideas, for people to really be inspired by problems that are worth solving. So it's you can submit a problem statement. I know it's hard to submit a problem statement. It's easier to say, oh, here's the solution, right? Here's the problem and here's my solution for it. But we encourage everyone who really has a problem that they would like people to be inspired to solve, to put that problem on that platform, right? So this is your part in which you define what the problem is, right? So you become the Napoleon and say, okay, my problem is the food preservation problem, right? If someone picks up that problem and they start innovating, so okay, I have a solution for that problem, then you are sort of inspired these solvers to compete in the prize competition, and they're supported by this network of organizations. So it's important to participate in any way you want. There you can either sort of ideate, or I call it problemate. Come up with a problem, and problemation does exist in the dictionary. People challenge me, and I did find it in the dictionary. So you can problemate or ideate. You can innovate, be an entrepreneur with a solution, or you can be an organization to support these entrepreneurs in many different ways. So that's really 3 different ways of participating. There are no restrictions here in terms of, for ideation, can I be an individual, an organization? Anyone can do it for ideation. For empowerment, obviously we would like organizations like Cleantech San Diego to be involved, because they have the infrastructure to support not just one entrepreneur, but multiple entrepreneurs. And the innovate part, which is anyone can innovate, anyone can participate. There's no restrictions about, do I have to be an organization? Can I be an individual? Do I need a team of 1 or a team of 2? So really there's no restrictions. It's open. The only restriction when it comes to giving you the cash, really, so there will be like, okay, you have to be if you win, in order for you to receive that prize payment, you have to be either a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident as an individual. But if you're an organization, a U.S.-based organization, really it doesn't matter. So who is the owners of it, as long as you can sort of receive that legally, that check in the U.S. So we talked a little bit about an ideator, right? I have a difficult problem that I want to share, put it on this marketplace. The incentive is that you really want someone to solve that problem, unless you want to solve it yourself, and you can actually solve it yourself by being an innovator and participating in the prize contest, right? So that's in the nutshell what an ideator is. You can be any ideator and innovator. So an innovator is really simple. You see a problem, you know of a problem, and you say, okay, I have a good solution to solve that problem. And this is when you become one of these people that can compete in this prize competition, on this $3 million prize competition. And I want to highlight this one point. This prize competition, the first round is $3 million. We're actually thinking in terms of multiple rounds. So in the future, in case you did not win the first contest or the second contest because your technology was not ready, there is an opportunity to be in the second round. So there's another $3 million prize competition coming following this first one. Question?
Are you saying just for the ready contest? Or are you saying
for the whole sequence, right? So now I'm going to talk about this, surprise, the details of this prize competition that consisting of 3 contests. As we said, ready, set, go. So we call it the 3 by 1 million by 90, right? So it's 3 prize competitions. Each one has $1 million pool of prizes, and each one happens within sort of a 90-day sort of period. Okay. So the first one is ready, and what we need you to have as a minimum, right, to participate, we want you to have a problem, a solution concept, and a plan to innovate. So you have a really good idea of what you can do in 30 days. And we have a pool of $1 million of prize winners. The minimum that you can win, or the maximum you can win, is really between $25,000 to $50,000. It depends on how many winners we select. So if we selected only 20, you get $50,000. If we select 40, you get 25. But each one will get exactly the same amount. Whatever the number is of the winners between 20 to 40, they will get exactly the same prize amount. So that's really simple. Have a problem, you have a solution or a concept of a solution, and you have a plan to execute on that concept solution to take it to the next level, which is to compete in set, which means in 90 days after you win that ready contest, you have in 90 days an opportunity to create a proof of concept as a minimum, right? Can you do a proof of concept in 90 days? And if you're one of the winners, again, we're going to have $1 million pool of prizes, 5 to 10, right? So you can win $100,000 or $200,000 depending on how many winners we pick. But in addition to the prize, the cash prizes that you could possibly win, there are vouchers. And these vouchers are sort of money available at the National Lab that you can spend. Now, only it's available at the National Lab. A portion of that money could be used in a fabrication facility, a private facility that you want to work with, because they're going to help you with your proof of concept somewhat, right? And there are more details on this, but I want to sort of go through the highlights. So if you win the set, then you can actually participate in the go. In fact, if you win the ready, you can participate in set and go, even if you did not win set. So it's important to sort of win ready or participate in ready, so you can have an option to compete on the remaining 2 contests if you are a winner of ready. And this is the big one. So this is the go. What we're asking you is, so okay, in 90 days, you're going to build as a minimum prototype and have a partner, private industry partner, to say, look, I'm willing to test it. I'm willing to work with this prototype. Need to have a real life sort of experiment with that prototype, right? So 2 winners, again, they share a pool of 1 million, and the prize is $500,000. So if you do the math, and if we pick 20 and 5.
I have a quick question. The 2 winners, is there a progressive evolution of how you're looking at qualifications?
Right. There's a different set of criteria at each one of these.
In terms of the type of technology.
Right.
You mentioned manufacturing, but are there, I'm just, again, maybe you'll get to this later, but where do you take it into consideration when you're apples to apples or apples to oranges in terms of moving to the next level?
Right. So it's a very good question, right? So again, it's a price competition. Oh, okay. So the question is, how do you compare? So, some technologies or some solutions could be at different stage of readiness, right? How would you compare in each one of these price competitions that you're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges? Or we struggle with that problem, and there's no solution for it, because we say, okay, each stage we're gonna pick, it's a price competition, whomever the most advanced, right, they're gonna win. Because the inputs, you cannot control the inputs, right? you can say, all right,
Just hold it there.
all right. Because some people who they start with a prototype, right? They may have, or even a plan, but they have more resources than others. They can actually in 90 days advance at the same level as someone who actually had a prototype, but they did not really have a lot of support, and they improved their prototype a little bit. So now you have, the outputs are comparable, right? But the starting points are different. So what we care about is who is the most, in that pool, who's the most advanced, right? Because there's a criteria, it's the same criteria we apply for all the contestants or the competitors for each one of these stages. But we cannot really control the inputs. So if people started with oranges and apples, we're going to look at them, which ones are the most advanced at that stage.
Ripest.
Right, which one is the ripest? Which one needs that funding that's going to take to the second level? Because we cannot really control the inputs, nor we want to, right? Because we want people to be resourceful, entrepreneurs to say, okay, you know what? I want to win this prize competition, and I'm starting from zero, but I want to compete with the ones, sort of the underdogs. I want to compete with the ones who already sort of started, they've been doing this for a year. We don't want to sort of say, all right, only apples to apples. Let them compete, and whomever is the most advanced, they will win that prize competition because it's the same set of criteria applied to these people at these stage gates, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right,
Just to
question.
clarify, can you enter the funnel at any point, or you always have to
So,
start at the
right, so the question is, for our audience online, can you enter the funnel? So there's a funnel. Can you enter the funnel at any point? Well, the answer is no. You can enter the funnel through the ready, and if you win the ready, then you have a chance to compete on set and go, even if you did not win set. So the first one is like, please participate in ready and try to win it, because then you have a chance at winning the remaining one. Now, unless there's another round, then you can probably participate in ready again, right, and try to win it, so you can participate in the remaining set of the contest, right? So that's the only condition in terms of, we thought about the X factors, like, oh, what if we allow someone who's just completely from not that pool to come at set? Like, does that create a little bit of excitement? We thought just to keep it simple, because there's a sense of cohort, right, with these sort of winners, and you want to create that sort of network a little bit of people competing among themselves, but also perhaps collaborating, right? Because they could be, doing different technologies. And we've seen examples of prize competitions in which, two teams are competing, but then they found synergies between them and they sort of combined, which is like, okay, we call it the first M&A sort of when it comes to startups, really early. It's just an idea. They don't even have a company. Any questions on this sort of construct?
Is the company, let's say, too late to do the ready if they already have a proof of concept?
It's not too late. So the question is, if the company has a proof of concept, is it too late to sort of participate in ready? The answer is no. When I was saying, at minimum, these are the quality. You have to have, at minimum, when you want to compete in ready, you want to have a conceptual solution. If you have a prototype, that's perfectly fine. You should compete in ready, because that gives you a little bit more edge, right? And if you win the ready, then you can actually advance faster, and you build your prototype to maybe a second prototype, right? 2.0 instead of just 1.0 for the set contest, and then it gives you a little bit more, opportunity to win the remaining contest. So it's all of these barriers, or not barriers, conditions. These are minimum conditions, that you have a solution, you have a problem, you have a solution, and at least you have a concept of how that solution is likely to work, right? But if you have a prototype, that's perfect, right? Any other questions? These are really good questions. And how much time do we have? I just want to, I was speaking fast.
It's 9 o'clock.
It's 9 o'clock, so we have half an hour. Perfect. All right, so this is the engine, right, of this prize competition. These are the 3 contests. Now, as I said, it's a compressed time frame, 90 days, 90 days, 90 days, 100, it's pretty fast, right? And these are sort of the most important dates that you should pay attention to. But obviously, the most important date is to don't miss on ready, right? Because you're going to have to wait for the next time this prize competition is ready to accept ready contestants. So the deadline for a submission for the ready contest is October 5th, right? So remember that. And I will talk a little bit about, what's required in order for you to compete. Now, ideation is available at any time. At any time you think, oh, I have this problem, I found it, just put it on that marketplace. There is a recognition of people that if they put a problem statement and someone was inspired by that problem, and they took it and they built a solution around it, and they win go, then they get a thank you $1,000, which is more of like a, so they're $2,000 prize competitions, rewards, not prize competition. They're rewards for people who come up with really interesting, that inspires someone that won all the way until they get to set. Questions? All right. So now, here's what the Ready contest is in terms of a checklist to win 50. Obviously, you can win 25, depends on the pool. It's a competitive one. So first of all, look at the problems that you care about. Maybe you already have a problem, you already have a solution. So identify ways to solve that problem. Talk to people, talk to customers, get some mentors, start building that team in terms of talents. What else do I need in order to advance this problem forward, right? So start doing this, building that team, and start working on your sort of progress. Take your solution a little bit further in that, during this time. And the most important thing is to submit, right? And what we ask you to do, the heart of the submission are two things. There's other additional material that you need to provide, but the heart of the submissions are two things. One is a 90-second video that basically tells us what the problem, the solution, who you are, and why you have a competitive edge. That's the heart, 90 seconds. I know it's tough, and we'll talk about the video a little bit more. And the second part of the submission, that's sort of the heart of that submission, is really a narrative, a written narrative. There are 4 questions. You get about 2,500 words to answer these questions. You can choose to, distribute your 2,500 any way you want in these questions. If you want, the answer for the first question to be 1 sentence, that's fine. That's up to you. And these questions are really, what's the problem? What's the innovation? Who's your team? What's your plan? Right? Really simple. So let's delve a little bit more into that. So 90-second video. There's a cover page. This is a more detailed sort of list of what you need to submit. A cover page, which is basic information about, the tagline of your project, the name of your project, where you're located, some of the key people involved in your project, basic information, sort of more of a fact sheet about your innovation. Again, but number 3 is sort of this narrative answers to 4 questions about your problem, your innovation, the team, and the plan. 2,500 words, so it's not really lengthy, but you have to think about the answers, right? And we'll give you an idea how we look at these questions, the answers to these questions, and how the judges evaluate them, because that's like the most critical sort of question. People are like, oh, how are you going to take this and translate it into a criteria and scoring and all that stuff? And there's a bunch of sort of additional documents. One of them is sort of more of a summary PowerPoint slide, just 1 slide with your own design to be publicly facing. If we're going to put this online to say, okay, here's, advertise this in terms of, not necessarily advertise it, but say, okay, here's the contestants, here what people are proposing, this is the slide you probably would use. And letters of commitments or support from organizations, and that's sort of optional. All right. But the 90-second video is public, so we ask people to sort of put it on YouTube, and anyone can watch. So don't put sensitive information if you think this is the secret sauce. Do not reveal the secret sauce. You can talk about it without necessarily revealing the ingredients, but that's something we'd like to post online. So now a lot of people sort of do not like this sort of video because, oh, you know what, I don't have production quality capabilities. I only have my phone. So we really focus on the content. Don't think too much about the production quality. It doesn't have to be, Hollywood style kind of, video. It's 90 seconds. Really focus on the quality and reach out to people like the Cleantech San Diego to help you with that video, right? With whatever tools that they have. Could be really simple tools that you can use in order to improve the quality, the production quality of your video. So it's really looks slick, but really focus on the content. And again, there's questions that we're asking you to sort of to answer in that video. It's the simple formula: who you are, what's the problem, what's your solution, and why you have a competitive edge in 90 seconds. And I know that is tough because you can, if I ask you to make an hour video, you probably don't have to do a lot of preparation. You can just, speak for an hour about but it's really tough to distill your ideas and answering these questions in 90 seconds. So I really encourage you, but that helps you a lot in terms of how you communicate to potential talents that you want to hire, or investors or mentors, right? It really helps you to crystallize what you want to achieve. So it's a really valuable exercise, even if it's a little bit tough. So we recognize that it's a simple requirement, but it's really does require a lot of preparation. So don't underestimate the the preparation that goes into it. I think the answering the 2,500 word sort of questions perhaps easier, but that's the publicly facing, as if you're sort of pitching to the whole world. Here's who you are. Here's my problem. Here's what I want to solve. So that's the 90-second video. Any questions?
The bottom where it says, is that literally what your judges are going to do?
Right. So each judge, what they're going to do is they're going to have.
How many judges? I'm just curious.
Okay, so each application will get about 3 judges, right? And what they do, they have statements, right? And they're going to review your video, and the statement, they're going to say, do we agree or disagree with that statement? It's a statement about your submission, right? And I will show you examples. And they're just going to go agree, disagree, right? They don't have to. And there's about 18 questions they're going to have to answer, right? After reviewing the video plus reading the questions, sort of the answers to the questions.
That's another question. Maybe you'll get to this.
Right.
Like,
So
what's the order? Video first, and then the narrative.
no, they're gonna have they have the package all together,
Okay.
right? But the basically what they're gonna do is try to, instead of saying, okay, I think this is like a 7 out of a 10, or right, we really try to simplify it by saying, okay, here's some statements or facts. Can you agree or disagree with these facts that relates to the application, right? So this is the 4 questions, problem, solution, team, and plan. And there's sort of an explicit question you will see in the rules document, what we're asking. And you're going to see it this way, right? So you're going to have a question. This is question number 1. They're going to say, okay, here's the suggested content you would like you to provide. It's up to you to provide something else, right? But this is what would be helpful for the judges to basically scale, I agree or disagree with these statements. There's only, in this particular question, there's only 3 statements that they have to, to rank or score, to say, I agree or disagree, right? And you can read them. I'm not going to go through that, but as simple as that, right? It's like almost like a survey that the judge is going to go, okay, I read the application, I watched the video. Do I agree with this statement about this competitor? The competitor quantifies a critical problem using important metrics and a compelling analysis of why now is the right time to address this problem, right? So really, they're going to read and they say, yeah, I kind of agree or disagree, depending on the content that you provided in that video plus the answers to the questions. And they're just going to basically 1 to 6 say, okay, agree, disagree. 1 is like kind of disagree, and 6 is like agree or strongly agree. Okay, questions?
Who are the judges?
So the judges, they're unrevealed right now. They're sort of a secret group of people. But normally it's a mix of, experts, investors, industry people, people at the National Lab. There's a component of it that is a sort of a DOE or, people in the Department of Energy that are familiar with that space. So it's a typical mix of judges that we use. And the judging process is, so don't be concerned about if you have any sensitive material. They all have to sign NDAs. They all have to be unconflicted, so there's a lot of these internal processes that we have, this is what we do every day, right? We get applications, we review them through sort of this sort of mechanism. We don't rely on our expertise only. We reach out to people in the industry who know the space a little bit much, more intimately than us sometimes, to give us that feedback. And at least you get 3 judges, so you have 3 people who are sort of independently actually scoring them. So there's no sort of groupthink or someone influencing someone else. These are completely independent. We get the scores, we tabulate them, we go through sort of the ranking, which is the highest and the lowest, and then the selections are made that way.
Do you have plans to give applicants feedback?
So what we do, we depending on the number, we normally would say, okay, if you want your feedback, your request, that I would like to know what the feedback is. Because these judges are also writing summary statements in terms of comments. They're not writing an essay about it. They're just writing a couple of comments that they want to send to the applicants or the competitors in that case. But because depending on, we just request it and we'll provide it. But we normally don't send it automatically, because some people, they get hurt Like, oh, I've not been selected. I want to know, I don't want to hear from you. So go away.
Particularly if there'll be repeat rounds, so we know where to improve.
Right, exactly. I think that, I love critical feedback.
Yeah.
Like, highlight the weaknesses, right? That's what I care about. Don't tell me about the strength. I kind of know what the strengths are. So highlight the weaknesses. Be a little bit critical. I know it's hurtful for some people to see, to be that, but I think it's more valuable that way so you can improve and go forward. So this is the ready contest in terms of, what we evaluate. The set and go are pretty much similar. They have different questions, right? Different statements that the judges have to agree because it's as the evolution. But there's also a demo day event, right? So in addition to that submission package, you will participate in a demo day event, which is a public event, like you've seen a lot of these in here, in which people, companies pitch their solutions among a set of investors, sort of a Shark Tank like, except there are no deals here. No one's getting any deals. Mark Cuban is not going to show up to be one of the judges. But think about it in that. The only difference is really that there will be a demo day kind of event. And you see that in the timeline. And by the way, I'll make these slides available so you can actually, if you missed some of the details, you can have access to the slides. All right. So now that a network partner, incubators, accelerators is a prime example. There's different types of organizations that we would like to be involved in that network. It's open. So there's what we call them connectors, prime example are business incubators or energy incubators or accelerators like the Cleantech San Diego. There's a number of organizations, we call them power connectors. They're going to work a little bit closely with us. They get a little bit of funding to specifically help overall with the execution of helping that network to thrive and support entrepreneurs. As I said, the private facility can actually have access to these vouchers. So an entrepreneur who won a voucher because they won the set or go contest, they can actually reach out to a local private facility to help them with their prototype or whatnot. So we call them, we're really not very creative when it comes to terminology, sort of voucher service providers. And then obviously the most important one, I really think that we don't emphasize enough, industry partners. If you remember, we want that feedback cycle to be fast. And we want, for the last contest, we want the go contestants to have partnerships with industry. So that is really critical to have members of the network who sort of industry, who's willing to test some of this technology, give feedback, right?
Will industry will they be represented in the judging panel?
Some of them will be, but we will have industry will be part of the judging panel, right? We try to provide more a diverse set of judges, so it's not just groupthink. People have different perspective. That helps accentuate the application itself and the value proposition that people are proposing that we may not necessarily notice or see from like a government perspective, right? All right, so what's in it for the connectors of these organizations? Obviously, they care about entrepreneurs, and their mission is absolutely aligned with our mission. They all want the same thing, but we also we recognize that it takes a little bit of oftentimes a lot of effort, and some organizations may not necessarily have the resources to dedicate to help some of these entrepreneurs. So, as a thank you, there is a set of thank you rewards that we can give to these organizations. And they're sort of broken down into these 4 type of thank you for helping the entrepreneurs. One is sort of engagement. Sort of if you host an event like this and you get people excited and all that stuff, well, as a thank you, we give you $1,000. You can do whatever you want with it. Another level of engagement is sort of mobilizing. So if you can identify talents and encourage them to participate and apply and help them, and they apply for the Ready contest and they win, we give you, $2,500 as a thank you for, all your help that, you got on entrepreneurs or a talent excited enough that they participated and they submitted a winning application or submission. Then you have the third one is mentor, and this is easy enough. Like if you mentor any of the winners of the set contest or the go contest, you get either $5,000 or $10,000 depending on which contest it is. And finally, we have this boost. If you really raise funds from private sources that goes to help these entrepreneurs, up to $200,000 of this money, private funding money that goes to the entrepreneurs, we will give you, $200,000 as a pool that you shared among the top 3 organizations that raise the most money that goes to the entrepreneurs. And there are more details about this, how it works and how the distribution works among these top 3 organizations that raise the most money from private sources that goes to the entrepreneurs. We don't want the money, it goes really to the entrepreneurs. But again, we're recognizing the importance of having that network effect, having access to sort of private money, to take the ideas beyond what we can do in just 120 days, right? We do recognize that this is only the starting point. If you think about it as a runway for these technologies to take off, maybe we'll get you to the first, half a mile of that runway, of a 12-mile runway, if you think about it as analogy. So again, as resources for you, there's a document here called the Official Rules of the American Made Solar Prize, available online. Please read it. It's a not lengthy document. It has the rules for all the contests. So obviously right now you're interested in Ready, so you don't have to read Set. There's each one of these is about, maybe 5 pages, 6 pages, no more. So the total document with all the fine print and the legal stuff is pretty much like a 40-page document. So it's relatively short, unlike some our funding opportunities like 100-page. You can't really know where to start. So this is an easy document to read. It's a resource for you. Again, we talked about the dates. October 5th is the deadline. Do not forget to submit. I think it's noon Eastern time. I know it's like, oh, what about the West Coast? It's like we just started. It's 9 o'clock here. It's like, but that's
submit any time before that.
Right. So that's the deadline. There's a video on Bitly called Solar Prize Video. This is a webinar. They recorded a webinar similar to this one that they have done at the office. Victor and, if you remember, Victor and Debbie, in the beginning, these are sort of the 2 leading people in the office that sort of taking this program forward. They made a webinar. They went through the program in details. So if you think I sort of did not answer a question or was vague or unclear, you can actually watch that 55-minute video. And you can also ask questions. So with that, I will leave it to any other questions. Go ahead.
The statistical disclaimer. What's the odds of winning? So the $3 million bucket is nationwide. How
Right.
many of these are going on? How many participants do you expect?
So this is what's okay. Yeah. So the question is what are the odds of winning, right? Do you have any data on the odds of winning? Unfortunately, I don't have any data on the odds of winning because it's in the past when we ran prize competitions. I would say it's about 10% of the applicants got, they won prizes. So it's competitive, but not super competitive like 1%, right? However, we don't know. This is the first time we do this sort of prize competition with a large, $500,000 as a large prize. A lot of the prize competitions we've done in the past, the grand prize was $100,000, right? And there was 5 of them. This one is the grand prize is $500,000 and 2, right? And you win prizes on the way too. The maximum one you can get 750. So we anticipate, we don't know. So we're sort of could be hundreds of submissions, right? For the Ready contest could be thousands, right? But eventually we're going to pick out of that number as an input. We're going to pick 40. So the odds could be 20%, 10%, 1%, 0.5%. I really don't have any idea. All I have to say is that people are signing up online on the platform to create accounts so they can start their submission process. And I get notifications of every time someone says, okay, they signed up to start a team, or oh, this person joined this team as a member or team captain and all that stuff. And I see a lot of email notifications okay, I'm getting spammed constantly here. So, but I really don't have an exact number of what the odds are. Go ahead.
So one of the companies that I know that's applying for this was curious about the licensing
language. So apparently it says, by submitting materials to the ideation program, submitters agree to allow their submissions to be released to the public under a Creative Commons Attribution International license. Can you explain the
So the question is, in the ideation, we're assuming that you have a sort of a Creative Commons sort of license that people can...
Just for ideation.
Just for ideation. So, in ideation is really we're asking people to give us problems, remember. They don't have to give us solutions. If they want to give us solutions, it's their problem. So don't put anything that's proprietary that you want to protect. But you want to highlight a problem. So there is not really, but when we want to say, as an example, right, here is a submission and we post it somewhere on the website or in printed material that we distribute as examples, we want to have an ability to do this. So you're granting the DOE sort of a license to use that submission as content. You put it in all kinds of forms. Also, you're giving license to other people to say, okay, actually I like this problem. I'm going to adopt it. I'm going to build a solution around it. So it's a typical thing normally people do around innovation in terms of collaboration. So okay, here's some problems, and we want to we want people to solve them. We want to participate on them. They want to publicize them a little bit so they can get talents or get some mentors. So that's really the answer on that one.
What about for Ready, Set, or Go?
So for the Ready, Set, Go, there's public. We say, okay, here's the content that's going to be released publicly, right? And like the video, for example, that's something we're going to release publicly. The summary slide, right? The one slide as part of Ready, something you're going to submit publicly. So on those, you're doing the same thing. So I suspect every entrepreneur is that they're going to have some sort of a public-facing type of description of what they're doing, unless you want to do clearly, 100% clandestine, which I don't think, in the innovation space, people like this clandestine approach, right? It's really about collaboration. It's really about getting feedback. So there is the public-facing. You're getting sort of more like this Creative Commons, but the submission, which is the 4 questions, that's private. We don't release it to the public. So you can put some, the secret sauce if you want to, help the judges better evaluate your submission. Okay, makes sense? Any other questions?
Yeah, are you favoring photovoltaic technologies over any other type of solar related?
We are not favoring anything. As you see, the criteria is pretty much neutral. It doesn't necessarily say, okay, it has to be PV, but there's certain technologies, for example, that we're not allowed to fund because these are congressionally mandated, congressionally appropriated funds. And Congress says, you shall not fund, for example, solar fuels, right? Because you're not allowed to. So we can, break the law because Congress says this is what you can fund. So oftentimes you will see some restrictions or areas of technologies that we're not of interest, not because we don't think it's important, but because of the, how the dollars flow and what we are allowed to do with these dollars, we have restrictions.
What about innovation that maybe doesn't, or tangentially has to do with manufacturing?
Yes. Okay. So the question is, what about innovation that's not really, supporting, hardcore manufacturing related? So the way we think about this, the goal is really to support the value chain, but the connection between, the value chain could be complicated. So as long as support the value chain and advanced manufacturing in a way, whether it's direct or indirect, but there is a relationship, then you have a chance to participate in this, under this umbrella. So it doesn't have to be a hardware solution. I know a lot of people say, oh, is this supposed to be a hardware solution only? There are no services around this. Actually, that's not a restriction. More questions?
So what about, I know there's a number of solutions that are more designed for once technologies are in the industry, like helping increase their reach with customers.
Adoption, right.
So like adoption of solar technology, so like helping push the sales process or helping do modeling for customers so they can understand how solar or storage would be helpful for their
right.
Places. Does that fall within kind of what you're looking for, or is that outside of the box a little bit?
Okay, so the question is, what about solutions are sort of related to adoption, increasing adoption? Does that fit within this construct? I don't really have a black and white sort of answer, right? It's a price competition. We're gonna see what comes in and pick the best sort of solutions based upon these criteria that sort of designated. The only thing I would say about that, though, is that oftentimes the question is like, does this really needs that competitive? Is it the role of the government to push innovation this way, or this price competition is going to really help this company, advance, and it's going to support the 3.0 or the 4.0 sort of vision of what we want to try to create, right? So there's a lot of incremental innovation that's happening already, right? But is this the right sort of forum for it, right? So it may not necessarily 100% fit with the sort of vision of, okay, are we enabling 3.0 or 4.0 in solar? Think about, automated sort of industry, right? Think about smart manufacturing capabilities. There's a lot of software-related, robotics-related type of sort of innovation that is kind of, tech, but not necessarily, and we need that, but not necessarily on the sales. Okay, I have a platform, but I need this extra, nudge so I can reach more more homeowners and things like that. I think there is other mechanisms to support incremental innovation. And this one, I think we're trying to do more radical, shift by increasing, the input of talents that try in that space. Okay, makes sense. But I mean, submit an application. Doesn't hurt. You never know. Any more questions?
It is 9:26.
Wow, almost. I have 4 minutes still, or you guys have 4 minutes back. It depends on how you think about it. Go ahead.
Are any of the videos, has anyone submitted a video so you can watch somebody else's video yet?
I don't think. Okay, so the question is for our audience online, did anyone submit a video? Can we see a sample of what that video looks like? So, as you know, the deadline is October 5th. A lot of people wait for the last week or the day before. So there are no videos available yet that I know of, right? But people are creating teams and starting these submissions. But I haven't seen any videos. However, we were thinking about creating a video sample, right? But it's not about a fake submission or anything like that. It's just more instructions about how to make a video, because I think people are always concerned about how to make that video, how it's going to be complicated and things like that. And we encourage you guys from the Cleantech San Diego to make a video that is sort of explaining how to make a video, or if you have a good example, post it on. We have a YouTube channel for the American-made challenges. You'll find a lot of our videos, the ones I highlighted, under that channel. I think that channel has 3 videos. You can actually tag that channel, or send us the link. We'll add it as a playlist, because we want real examples versus me speaking to a webcam to explain, okay, how to make a video. Here's what we're looking for, right? So yeah, reach out to those guys who help all the time, right?
Yeah, and I can do some final comments too once everyone's.
Sure. Yeah.
So if you're early stage, maybe you don't have a team developed yet.
Right.
Can you talk through maybe resources to help find really good teammates?
Right. So, so the question is, if you're just an individual, you don't have, you have not built a team, what additional resources that you have to find the co-founder and the talents so you can compete. So the 2 resources I would point to, there's a platform that we're using. There's some messaging in that platform. You can sort of post. There's a forum in that platform. You can reach out to other people. I'm not sure you're gonna find the co-founders that way, but that's one approach, right? To use these, our platform online, but the results are not guaranteed, like everything else. But there's other platforms and people sort of looking for co-founders and talents. But also, that's the second resource. But the third resource, I would think, will reach out to the incubators and accelerators in the community to see if they're in their network, they can use this as a an announcement. Someone is looking for a co-founder. If you want to talk to, so there's a lot of. This is why we really want to work with the local, incubators, accelerators, because they have access to the local talents. Because you want someone local, right? To some extent, maybe we'll have. But these members of the network can work together to find you someone that can work with you, or a talent that can work with you. So these are 3 type of resources I can think of, and I'm sure there's additional more.
Are you or any other folks available to do more of these types of things?
So we are available if we get invited. We promise if we can fly to your event, we will happy to be on the phone or like a WebEx. But so far I've done 3 of these. I'm sort of covering the West Coast. We did one in Denver, San Francisco, and this is the third one. So, but by all means, if you have an idea where the next event is, want to do it in Seattle or whatnot, let me know. I'm happy to fly to Seattle and do an event like this. I hope it was useful.
Yeah. Let me do some closing comments.
Okay.
real quick.
Yes. Here you go.
All right. Thank you much. And then we'll give Ammar a round of applause when I'm done with this. Okay. So just to clarify, so Cleantech San Diego is one of the connectors that was selected by the Department of Energy and NREL to support this challenge. So I want to let you know that our team, specifically probably mostly me, is going to be available for you. If you are planning on doing a submission, you can reach out to us to help review your submission, maybe help you kind of craft an idea for your video. As Ammar mentioned, there is the platform that the American Made Solar Prize Challenge is on is called Hero X. So if you type in Hero X American Made Solar Challenge, you'll see, as he mentioned, there's like a forum. And I've seen a couple people in the forum list that they're looking for partners to work on projects with. So that is a good way to find folks. Other ways are just like going to different meetups, specifically technical meetups in San Diego to find those kinds of folks. But again, I can try to help point you in the direction of people. As far as the Ready Challenge goes, though, you might not need a full team, at least right now. You have a little bit of time until October 5th to try to find some other people. So I would say start working on those pieces that are not related to team right now, and then work with us to help you find team members. And then there was another question I was going to provide some. As far as sample videos go, I'm not sure if it's in 90 seconds, but Verge is a well-known conference put on by GreenBiz. And for all of their Verge conference events, they have like a startup accelerate competition presentation thing, and everyone has to submit videos on the website that people vote on. So I would actually go to the Verge conference websites for this year and past years to see submissions that people have done for where they've talked about their technologies. I think it's very helpful, and they get kind of creative with it. So that would be a good resource. And my email is Alyssa GD. Alyssa Guttner Davis is my name. So Alyssa GD, ALYSSA GD at cleantechsandiego.org. So feel free to email me and reach out. And then if you do have an electric energy technology that you think would be eligible for the San Diego Regional Energy Innovation Network program, that connects you to a variety of additional resources. So, I don't know if it's the right time to kind of try to apply now, but it is a way to get involved with us and receive a lot more support. And so you might want to consider doing that either in conjunction with applying for this challenge or following applying for this challenge if you are interested in moving forward with your technology. So, all right, any other things before we close shop? No? Awesome, thanks everybody. Let's link Ammar. Cool.